Wham! Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk. Intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
And good Saturday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to catch our drift. Joining me in studio, it's Ed Bonderenka.
Howdy.
And our sometimes co-host, Alex Wassell.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Well, thanks for coming in. It's good to have my two co-hosts in for the last show here at Wham Talk 1600. So if you want to get in on the action, you can certainly call into the show, 734-822-1600, and give us your opinion on news of the week or anything else you feel like talking about. We can certainly do that.
Or give us the liberal opinion from San Francisco, you trolls.
No, thanks. I get that on the major media channels.
That's right. So this is the last show, and we will be moving to podcast, and I'll give you the details of that. You'll be able to reach that information at GaryWellings.com or thedailydrift.com, and I'll put that information up when we do it. You'll still be able to call in, and we'll actually be a little video action, too. So it'll be fun. And we won't be tied to the FCC.
Well, I have to wear a shirt. I enjoy the way we do this in our underwear.
Ed.
Oh, no. Well, anyway, so what we do on The Drift every Saturday is go over the news that I put up on the dailydrift.com.
The news you need to know.
Yes. There you go. And we'll keep doing the Daily Drift, so that's not going anywhere. So thank you for all the years of tuning in and participating in the show. It's been a great 8-year run. So we'll continue on podcast and do some other things, which will kind of free us up a little bit of time. So that's good. All right. Well, the big news this week, impeachment?
Yeah.
So did you drag some stuff together too, I'm hoping?
Well, I've got some stuff about that. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. And, of course, if you watch, as Alex said, the mainstream media, he's already guilty. Well, go ahead and do it then. Why wait? Why take 2 weeks off and go on vacation?
Of course he's guilty. Of course he's guilty. We just need to figure out of what. That's all. Once we figure out what, then it'll all be settled.
Well, I thought that exposing crime was actually a crime itself or a high misdemeanor.
Yeah. Well, that's what's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Exposing the crime or investigating the crime is worse than the crime itself? In what world are we living in?
The world where the Democrats asked the Ukraine government to investigate the Trump campaign a couple of years ago, right?
And now it's wrong
and
to
threatened to withhold.
Threatened
to withhold aid.
And we've got a whole lot of that stuff to get into today. But I want to start real quick with just the guy, my go-to guy. Alan Dershowitz, right? He's a liberal. He's an admitted liberal, a Democrat. And I wanted to see what his
They're not
take
talking
was.
to him anymore. I don't know if you noticed. They're not talking to him anymore.
You won't see him on CNN and MSNBC, right? Here's Alan Dershowitz talking about impeachment over the Ukraine call. Derek, you got that? Go ahead and play it.
My question is this. I saw the transcript. I did not see a smoking gun. I did not see a quid pro quo. Did you?
I did not. I did not see either an impeachable crime or any indictable crime. What I saw is some pretty rough politics. And the answer to that is let the other side play rough politics. In the end, this is going to be a political tie. It will dirty the Biden camp a little bit. There'll be some Americans who will say maybe the president shouldn't have made that call. But it doesn't belong in Congress in an impeachment inquiry, and it doesn't belong in the Justice Department. It is not a crime, high or otherwise.
How do you think this ends up? Because I understand that Speaker Pelosi is going to press ahead with this official impeachment inquiry. Where does it end up here? What's the end game, Professor?
Well, I think it backfires on the Democrats. I'm a Democrat, so I hate to see the party I voted for years hurting their chances, but I think it's going to hurt their chance. The American public is not in favor of impeachment. And impeachment is a mechanism of last resort. It requires bipartisan support to succeed. The only president who's ever been removed via an impeachment threat has been Nixon, and the reason he was removed is Republicans started turning against him. And in this case, it's going to backfire on the Democrats, and particularly in swing state Democrats, whose constituents are very much against impeachment, and they're going to have to vote now because Nancy Pelosi is pulling them out from where they've been hiding and saying, essentially, you're going to have to cast a vote. And that's not going to make her popular with people at the center of the party. It will make her very popular with people at the left of the party. And it's part of a drift of the Democratic Party leftward and the increasing influence of so-called progressives, who I call repressives or regressives, because there are people who don't favor free speech or due process or basic American values. But this is very, very political.
Okay. So
it's political.
It's political. The big point for me is we have two congressional seats that flipped last time around, right? Mm-hmm. That was Haley Stevens and Alyssa Slotkin, who replaced my current congressman was Mike Bishop. Mm-hmm. These two ran as moderate Democrats who would work with the president, and they both, I think, was it Monday, joined Nancy Pelosi in the call for impeachment based on, even before they read the transcript or anything else. And I would be remiss, I think we all would.
Everybody called for impeachment before they read the transcript.
Yes. And so these ones are now on the hook. They've done nothing in the time that they've been there. And so I want people to think long and hard about this. For Alyssa Slotkin and Haley Stevens, folks, do not replace these people. Vote them out. Whether you vote for somebody else in the primary on the Democrat side or you vote Republican, hopefully, in the general, these two must be replaced. Haley Stevens has done nothing. Quiet as a church mouse, just hanging under the radar, catching her salary, basically. Right?
Actually, that's kind of a virtue when you consider Tlaib and AOC
and
Presley.
And Alyssa Slotkin. But I don't like the fact that they play off as moderate Democrats, and then when push comes to shove, they're just on board with Nancy Pelosi and Jerry Nadler trying to impeach the president, the guy who's responsible for making things as good as they are right now. Mm-hmm. So take a long, hard look at those two and get rid of them. Tlaib, on the other hand, just somebody primary out. Please, Detroit. Pick anybody. And
Phil had a guy on this morning who's running against her. He's already started running against her, and I forget his name, but he was on the Abolition Roundtable
as a Democrat?
I think as a Republican, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
He just said he was running against her. That's all I heard.
I would highly endorse somebody else on the Democrat side. They're going to be anti-Trump, whatever. At least be not hating Christians like she does. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? She needs to be replaced because she's intolerant. She's got no tolerance for anything else other than Muslims. You know, she's a Palestinian pro-activist. She needs to go away. Mm-hmm. So those are three positions here in Michigan. For crying out loud, folks, please get out and get rid of them. Don't vote them back in, whatever you do. You want to take a call from Joe in Wyandotte wants to talk about impeachment. Joe, welcome to the show.
Yeah, first, I think you're thinking of potentially Dave Dudenhofer.
That's him. Thank you.
Yeah, he was chair of the wing of the 13th Congressional District Republican Committee. He's probably stepped down now to run
as a Democrat.
And I also know personally Al Limo is seriously considering throwing his hat in the ring too. And secondly, it's really sad that you'll be off the air now, mostly for me, because I'm going to have to try and train a new host as to how it's really done as opposed to how you folks think.
No.
You'll have an opportunity. I want to let everybody know this slot is not going to another financial services.
Thank God for that.
No, this slot's going to have a good host next week.
You'll have good replacement next week, and you'll be able to reach us, Joe. I'm going to have phone available, so you'll be able to call in and steal the show like you do every week.
Mm-hmm. But thanks for filling us in.
We, of course, must pass impeachment to figure out what impeachment's about.
That's it. That's right.
Exactly right. Well, let's be honest. They've been trying to impeach him since before he took office. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many times do you cry wolf?
Yeah.
Shall we count the ways?
Timeline this time. Declare impeachment without any charge or evidence. Release some evidence that they think they can spin to be impeachable, being the transcript, which shows absolutely nothing. So when that fails, release the faux whistleblower who is really just a partisan hack dealing in hearsay, which is a big nothing burger, and pretend that's something, but it was all moot. His complaint is moot because we saw the transcript showing nothing. So now, of course, since none of that works, try and allege a cover-up of it all, even though both of those things have been released. This is the insanity that Democrats are dealing in right now.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to say something, too, about everyone wants to make a big thing about this going into the extra secret probation classified server, right? I'm betting when it comes out, all phone calls are probably now going in there in the last year.
They have been.
Months.
It was announced.
Was it? Okay.
A former White House staffer announced that we've been doing that for a while, since the leaks to the Mexican president came out, the leak to the Canadian prime minister came out. All these leaks have been coming out of these. They got to do something.
So the big news that I kind of put up on the Daily Drift, Joe, and I'm sure you saw it, I actually had to adjust this morning, was the fact that the rules for whistleblowers changed in August. Somebody changed the rules saying that people with secondhand information can now come in. Yeah. It was uploaded just like weeks before this happened. So it was in.
This was a whole setup job.
Awfully convenient.
Exactly.
Yes, technically under the old whistleblower laws, the real ones, the way they should be, the hearsay is inadmissible. It's not valid, just like it would be invalid in court. And Ed is right. They put these, what amounts to a skiff now, because of all the previous leaks. They have to protect it because no world leader would trust speaking to the U.S. president if all the time every one of their daggone phone calls was leaked.
Yeah. What bothers me is that the idea of the whistleblower and what Trump said about a spy and espionage has been conflated to where they say that Trump was complaining about the whistleblower being a spy. And that's not the case. The spy is the guy who told the whistleblower what he heard. That's the spy. That's the inside guy that's got to be ferreted out and gotten rid of. He should be put on trial for his activities. I mean, this is part of the Intelligence Committee, 6 ways sideways on Sundays to get back at you. This is still part of the attempted coup. But thankfully,
that's too complicated for the media to explain. They prefer the simple spin version. They can, regardless of the facts.
Thankfully,
Trump look bad with.
Thankfully, Donald Trump has a secret superpower that's not talked about that much, but I've observed it in action. I've seen him use it, and so I'm inferring that he has this secret superpower. So I'm going to expose it right now. He has the ability to drive people insane, and they act accordingly. He has the ability to gin something up against him. For all I know, he may have leaked out this, a false sense of information to this informant. He may have had somebody say, hey, tell this guy this, okay? Then he's going to leak it, and then we're going to step back and laugh at them. Because he's done this so many times. The Mueller report, we've got him now, and they don't have him. He's like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, and he is the Roadrunner. That's his super secret power.
Yeah,
like a disinformation campaign. That would be wise to do, to send them on all these wild goose chases that they endlessly epic fail on. And lastly, on impeachment, then I'll get off the phone, is this isn't impeachment. It's quasi-impeachment again. They're playing games around the edges of impeachment. Shut up. Do it. Draw up real articles of impeachment and start a real official impeachment process. We want it, because then for every one of your hearing committee morons that engages in spin, have it on television, we then get to directly rebut with reality and facts and wake up the American people.
Yep.
So take care, my friends. I love you guys, and I'll try to catch up with you all on podcast.
All right. Love you too, Joe. Take care, brother.
See you, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So the thing that I really noticed this time around with this latest escapade of Never Trump derangement syndrome is instead of being opinion pieces and slanting, they're just outright lying now.
Oh, you
Right?
mean like the Schiff, Adam
Schiff.
Weasel,
Schiff, yeah.
reading what he did, so that people who didn't read it would think he's reading it, take what, because people don't read. They don't have the reading.